Video, make sure you guys like, subscribe if you're new. My Instagram and TikTok are all linked down below. And yeah, let's get straight to it. Okay, so Legacy Wave 2 Deluxe Class Tarantulas. This guy was one of my most anticipated figures of this year and probably in a long time. Like, he's definitely up there with my top 3 or top 5. And I gotta say, he pretty much delivered on all my expectations. Now, that does not go without saying. He does have a few issues I have with him in terms of the overall engineering and some articulation. But the overall sculpt work of this guy is fantastic. As the light shines on him, you see all the spider type of organic detailings on his legs, his thighs, his lower legs, his pectorals. His crotch piece there is very detailed as well. And then you got the, I think that's supposed to be the spider eyes right there, which are obviously faux. The back, the real ones for beast mode are on the back there, which doesn't matter to me because it's hidden up extremely well. Get that back in there. So the overall look of this guy is fantastic. The spider legs, I've seen people complaining about the spider legs, that there's not a lot of options to like put it back like it was with Black Arachnia, but I don't know, in all the stuff that I've seen with Tarantulas, he has his spider legs out, basically like how I have it right here. They are on a ball joint, but you can't like angle them all the way back like you could with Black Arachnia. It only goes to about, it only goes back like that much, which it does suck a little bit, but it's not too big of a deal, like I said, because Tarantulas doesn't really do it like that with his spider legs. And does Black Arachnia do that too? I can't even remember right now. But the sculpt work on the arms is great with all the tech detailing there. It's not picked out in any paint, but it's definitely sculpted there, which is extremely accurate. You can see right there, very nice little notches and nubs there. And the weapons are, I really like the accessories right here. The gun is unpainted, but the sculpt work is fantastic on this. Pretty much exactly like his original gun. It's more of like the gun he had with his original toy more than the show. But the back piece right here is definitely show inspired if my camera would focus. There we go. Very nice details all around. Come on, camera. Damn. Little hollow under there, but who cares? And the hollowness right there is actually a tab for transformation. So, and the saw weapon right here is very nice as well. It's obviously his transmetal weapon. And I dropped it. Cool. It's obviously his transmetal weapon, but I think it works with the regular Tarantulas, and this is definitely a little nod to the fans that, hey, a transmetal Tarantulas may be coming, so be on the lookout in the next couple years. The sculpt work is great. Love the silver paint on there for the saw. The silver has like a little bit of a purple hue to it. You can't really see it too well on camera, but in person it's definitely there. But beautiful sculpt work all the way around on this. And these two can combine a couple different ways I've found. You got a hole there and a notch right there, and then they just tab in. This is pretty stupid. It's supposed to be held like this. I'm just gonna say right off the bat, it looks absolutely ridiculous. I don't think anybody's gonna be doing that, but hey, the option is there if you want to do it. And you can also tab, there's a hole right there, and a slot right there, obviously, and that tabs in. You could do it like this, like an underheld type of machine gun or rifle or whatever. You could do it sort of like this, which is okay. It's not too bad. It adds some length and extra girth to the overall weapon. Or you could do it at the top like that, which is alright. It's not too bad. I don't know how many people are going to be doing that, but the option is there. And I do want to talk about the hands. The hands are very nice. No circle jerk jack off hands, which is something that I always advocate of being against, and I hope Hasbro does it more often. Inferno doesn't have it, which is great. And for other characters that turn to cars, add that extra hand joint, like you did with Hot Rod and Optimus Primal. Alright, Hasbro? But anyway, hands are sculpted nice, got some yellow paint there, and some little rivets there for claws. And now in terms of holding the weapons, this goes for either weapon. It doesn't affect either one. It's pretty much the same. You've got one hole here and then one hole right there. The second hole farthest back is much tighter, but the one up front is just a tad bit looser, but it still fits securely in there. It's not falling out unless if you really tap it out like that, you know. But my issue with the back one is when you plug it all the way back there, especially with the saw blade, it kind of loses its effect, and it looks sort of small in his hand, and like the claw is just all the way up there, and if he shoots it, it's almost like he would be damaging his hand, which would be weird to me. And especially with the saw blade, you plug it all the way in the back there, and the saw is on his claw right there, and obviously that would not be safe for him in battle. So putting it up at the front there allows for much more clearance, and the claw isn't really on the saw at all, and it looks much better, and it looks a little bit bigger in his hand. So just something to be aware of for aesthetic reasons. If you guys prefer the first tab or the second one, me personally, definitely the first tab. But in terms of articulation, I'm gonna run through that. Another gripe I have with this guy is the head doesn't move up too far. It wiggles a little bit down and a little bit up. It's about all you're gonna get. I mean, you could pass that off in certain angles and sort of bend the legs back a little bit, and you could sort of get it like that, which isn't too bad, especially for Tarantulas, because he's not really a dude that's going to be looking up and flying and stuff, so it's not too big of a deal, but it does kind of suck. You do get a little bit of wiggle there for some expressions, which is good. Tarantulas is a very expressive character, and obviously it rotates because it's on a ball joint. You got a little bit of a butterfly joint there. It goes forward a little bit, and then it goes back a lot, which is great for posing, very expressive. Spins all the way around. Shoulders go out that much until the spider leg piece right there bumps into the backpack section. So you get about that much. You could probably finagle it and get more, probably. Maybe. Nope. You're about gonna get that much, which is about all you need anyway. You got a rotation up here, and then a rotation on the lower arm as well. And then you have slightly over 90 degrees of bend, or right about 90 degrees of bend there at the elbow. No wrist articulation because of obviously how the hands are designed. You have a great waist rotation. Legs can kick forward that much, which is way more than Black Arachnia. Black Arachnia could only go about that much, which pretty sucked. You could go back a little bit. He could do the full splits. He has upper thigh rotation, which is great. A tad bit loose on mine, but not a big deal. Double knees, which looks fantastic for jumping poses and overall just any dynamic pose that you want to get him into. And the feet move up all the way, which is fantastic. This joint has been very helpful with certain dynamic poses, and it can move back a ton as well, which is great. And it has the beautiful ankle pivot. Pivots that much, which is fantastic. Overall, the articulation on this guy is great, except for The head being a bit limiting, but other than that, great articulation. Very satisfied with how expressive this guy can be in certain poses. Now for some size comparisons. Here he is next to Optimus Primal and Megatron. Angle the camera up a little bit. These three look great together. Absolutely fantastic Beast Wars updates, except for Cheetor. Not gonna lie, Cheetor sucked. Here he is with Black Arachnia and Cheetor, and obviously, as you can see, two totally separate molds as opposed to the original toys in the 90s with these two. And Tarantulas is overall way more heavier and beefier, but Black Arachnia is just a tad bit taller. As you can see, just a teeny bit. But Tarantulas is definitely a brand new mold and way beefier, and he has a lot more going on with him, I'd say, in terms of the articulation. Well, no, Black Arachnia has a bit more articulation, but in terms of the accessories that he comes with, 2 instead of 1, he definitely is a great deluxe for your price. And with Cheetor, like I said, Cheetor sucks, but these two have a couple of run-ins together in the show. As you can see, he's a bit taller than Tarantulas, which I think works pretty good. Here he is next to Rat Trap and Thrilling 30 Waspinator, because I refuse to pick up the Kingdom Waspinator because I don't really see it as that much of an update. And Scorponok and Dinobot also looks absolutely fantastic. And lastly, here he is with Pterosaur and Airazor. Now with Pterosaur, he's obviously going to be quite a bit taller. Now for transformation. And Spider Mode, I gotta say, is probably one of the best Beast Modes we've ever gotten in terms of what Hasbro's done. I know that's not a lot of competition, but it's definitely an improvement over some of the stuff we've gotten, like with Optimus Primal and Dinobot. So, there's not a lot of robot kibble hanging out. You got some of the legs there, but it kind of hides up nicely in certain angles. The one thing I will say, though, that sucks about the transformation is how these legs fold in can be sort of hard to do. I found that the best trick is to put the feet in there first and then angle the rest of the leg sections inward. You might have seen me in the clip having some trouble getting these in there until I realized a little trick that I just said. And the gun stores right there with a tab. It just tabs in there. It's pretty tight. Let me see if, yeah, you got a slot right there, and then it's gonna tab into the focus here. It's gonna tab into these two holes right here. So the weapon storage isn't too bad. I guess this sort of doubles as like his web shooter back there, but then you have the crossbow things sticking out there. So I don't know. It's alright, I guess. The saw stores up pretty nicely too. It just tabs in that slot right there. And it doesn't look too bad. I mean, for an organic spider, it looks sort of weird in some angles having a saw weapon plugged into his stomach, but it is what it is. In certain angles, you barely even see it there. So the weapon storage is alright. It's not too bad, but it is pretty cool that it's there. Definitely better than a lot of more modern figures with weapon storage. The head sculpt on the Tarantulas mode is pretty good. You got nice pearlescent type green paint there. And then the robot arms become his mandibles there. and they serve pretty. They're all right. They look a bit awkward in certain poses, but it doesn't look too bad. We have reached the final moment. The delicious meter on this guy, I would have to give him an 8.5 out of 10. Or an 8.7 out of 10, we'll say. It's close to a 9, but not quite there yet. If it had a little bit more play in the head, and maybe I'd say maybe a bit more options for the spider legs in robot mode in terms of displaying. It's going to take up a little bit of room on the shelf for those of you guys that do displaying with your figures. So those two things are my major gripes. And also, I forgot to mention this as well, the placement of the weapons is a bit wonky with that back tab there as opposed to the front tab. But it's great that you do have the option. So, 8.7 out of 10. Definitely pick this guy up once you get the chance. He's starting to show up in certain comic shops across the US, which is where I picked this guy up at. I picked him up on an online local comic shop called 3G Collectibles. It's sold out after I got him, which, I mean, of course it would sell out. But yeah, just be patient. It's definitely hitting shelves in the next couple weeks to a month. You'll probably get your hands on this slimy Tarantulas himself. But yeah, guys, delicious meter, 8.7 out of 10 for Legacy Deluxe Class Tarantulas.